So how do we fight this? Well, you certainly don't pick up arms. You do what Edward Snowden did. If you pick up arms, let me just ask you, you go ahead and call me if you're willing to pick up arms. Just let me remind you, by calling me, you will be using your telephone. And you say anything like that on your telephone, and the NSA is listening to you, so they will be able to crunch those numbers and find out exactly who's in your circle of friends, and they will pick you and all of your friends up. Americans are not disciplined enough to even understand what Edward Snowden has even released. What he has released is they have everything. They have absolutely everything. They have all of the levers. They can follow you in real time. They have been tracking your purchases and your credit card activity. They've been capturing all of your phone conversations and all of the phone numbers that you reach out. They have your whole life. I want to play some audio here from Edward Snowden, and you decide, who is this guy? And did what he did, is it right or wrong? Here's the NSA whistleblower.
NSA and the intelligence community in general is focused on getting intelligence wherever it can, by any means possible, that it believes on the grounds of sort of a self-certification that they serve the national interest. Originally, we saw that focus very narrowly tailored as foreign intelligence gathered overseas. Now, increasingly, we see that it's happening domestically. And to do that, the NSA specifically targets the communications of everyone. It ingests them by default. It collects them in its system, and it filters them, and it analyzes them, and it measures them, and it stores them for periods of time, simply because that's the easiest, most efficient, and most valuable way to achieve these ends. So while they may be intending to target someone associated with a foreign government or someone that they suspect of terrorism, they're collecting your communications to do so.
Have you given thought to what it is that the U.S. government's response to your conduct is, in terms of what they might say about you, how they might try to depict you, what they might try to do to you?
Yeah, I could be, rendered by the CIA. I could have people come after me, or any of their third-party partners. They work closely with a number of other nations. Or, they could pay off the triads, or, any of their agents or assets. We've got a CIA station just up the road in the consulate here in Hong Kong. And I'm sure they're going to be very busy for the next week. And that's a fear I'll live under for the rest of my life, however long that happens to be. You can't come forward against the world's most powerful intelligence agencies and be completely free from risk, because they're such powerful adversaries that no one can meaningfully oppose them. If they want to get you, they'll get you in time. But at the same time, you have to make a determination about what it is that's important to you. And if living unfreely but comfortably is something you're willing to accept, and I think many of us are, it's the human nature. You can get up every day, you can go to work, you can collect your large paycheck for relatively little work against the public interest, and go to sleep at night after watching your shows. But if you realize that that's the world that you helped create, and it's going to get worse with the next generation and the next generation who extend the capabilities of this sort of architecture of oppression, you realize that you might be willing to accept any risk, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is. So
I will tell you that the country right now that says we will protect the individual, it used to be the used to be the United States of America. But we will protect the sovereignty of the individual. We will protect the rights of the individual. You will see a wild influx of people moving to that country. We are not going to surveil our own people. We're not going to treat them as criminals. Now, I don't know how exactly you do it, but America should be leading the way, and instead we are leading the way on the surveillance state. Now, here's why he says it matters.
Why should people care about surveillance?
Because even if you're not doing anything wrong, you're being watched and recorded. And the storage capability of these systems increases every year consistently by orders of magnitude. To where it's getting to the point you don't have to have done anything wrong.
Listen carefully.
You simply have to eventually fall under suspicion from somebody, even by a wrong call, and then they can use the system to go back in time and scrutinize every decision you've ever made, every friend you've ever discussed something with, and attack you on that basis to sort of derive suspicion from an innocent life and paint anyone in the context of a wrongdoer.
Wow, is that... I mean, there's a lot more here. But that's a traitor? Really? This guy's a traitor?
I listened to Fox this morning, and they had some interviews on, and none of them really like this guy. I think this guy's a hero. I really do. I think I don't know.
Certainly what he's done is heroic.
He is going to be painted as a child molester, a coke user. I don't know what. I don't know what. But he will be wildly discredited. I'm surprised
that's all they can do to him now.
They'll wildly discredit. They're going to try to separate you from him in any way they possibly can.
They will use the exact same thing he was warning about on him.
Yes.
I mean, they will go through all of his communications. They will go through all that stuff, and they will paint him as the
Listen to
worst
what he
person on
said, too. Is the U.S. government really using the triads? They're using the Chinese mafia to kill people? I mean, he must have some knowledge about that, because he ticked off a list of people that, if the CIA didn't do it themselves, they could just get some other interest that we work with, that we're partners with, to do it for them. That's pretty amazing stuff.
All right, so here's what I asked my guys. I said, why is he in China? What's up with the whole China thing? Why would
kind of explains that.
What does he say?
We are currently sitting in a room in Hong Kong, which is where we are because you traveled here. Talk a little bit about why it is that you came here, and specifically there are going to be people who will speculate that what you really intend to do is to defect to the country that many see as the number one rival of the United States, which is China, and that what you're really doing is essentially seeking to aid an enemy of the United States with which you intend to seek asylum. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So there's a couple assertions in those arguments that are sort of embedded in the questioning of the choice of Hong Kong. The first is that China is an enemy of the United States. It's not. I mean, there are conflicts between the United States government and the Chinese PRC government, but the peoples inherently, we don't care. We trade with each other freely. We're not at war. We're not in armed conflict, and we're not trying to be. We're the largest trading partners out there for each other. Additionally, Hong Kong has a strong tradition of free speech. People think, China, great firewall. Mainland China does have significant restrictions on free speech, but the people of Hong Kong have a long tradition of protesting in the streets, of making their views known. The internet is not filtered here, no more so than any other Western government. And I believe that the Hong Kong government is actually independent in relation to a lot of other leading Western governments.
If your motive had been to harm the United States and help its enemies, or if your motive had been personal material gain, were there things that you could have done with these documents to advance those goals that you didn't end up doing?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anybody in the positions of access with the technical capabilities that I had could, suck out secrets, pass them on the open market to Russia. They always have an open door, as we do. I had access to, the full rosters of everyone working at the NSA, the entire intelligence community, and undercover assets all around the world, the locations of every station we have, what their missions are, and so forth. If I had just wanted to harm the U.S., that you could shut down the surveillance system in an afternoon. But that's not my intention, and I think for anyone making that argument, they need to think, if they were in my position, and you live a privileged life, you're living in Hawaii in paradise and making a ton of money, what would it take to make you leave everything behind.
I think this guy is an absolute hero. Now, let me give you another piece. I got a note from a friend who was in the intelligence community, and he said, it's unique at its core, Hong Kong, as it falls under the Chinese umbrella, but the government is still run under the old English system. It's a court system that is completely separate from China. The Hong Kong Department of Justice shields them from interference with the Chinese government. However, since it ultimately falls under Chinese protection, the United States can't come in and do what they want. It's also one of the most densely populated areas in the world, easy to blend in and stay in the radar, under the radar. He's not defecting. He's following intelligence protocol. When I was part of the intelligence community, Macau was a similar spot. We had all pegged to run in the event that our cover was blown. Hong Kong provides the exact same environment, political judicial system in transition, and a dense developed population. Makes a lot of sense and makes him more credible, in my opinion. He's doing exactly what our tradecraft trained us to do. And by the way, that email is, can be read now by the NSA and can be read by the president and everybody else. This guy could have, and everything I know about a knock list I learned from Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 1. But he had access to the knock list. I do know this. That's a bad thing to get out. He didn't do it. He's not like WikiLeaks, where he's dumping... Which is what they would have done. Right. They just dumped volumes of information. They just say, there's nothing safe. Well, that's not right. Some things should be safe. Some things should be secret. Some things should be protected. However, this should not be. They have lied to us. The American government and allies in the in both parties have lied to you. They have said none of this is going on. They're pretending now that it's fine, and you'll see who the real progressives are. This is your chance to understand who a progressive is. If they come out against this, meaning we should not be doing these things, most likely, if they're on the right, most likely they're not progressive. If on the right they are coming out and saying, we need this kind of stuff, no, most likely, not in all cases, most likely they are a progressive. Now, the paradigm is all screwed up on the left because the left, I'm not really sure where they stand on anything because you can't trust them because they have power. Just like I say on the Democrat, on the Republican side, most likely because some people, just want to destroy the president. This has nothing to do with the president. This was started under George W. Bush and made much, much worse. This is, and, people have been tweeting this weekend, to me, oh, there's your Patriot Act for you. Shut up. First of all, the Patriot Act, this was not what the Patriot Act said it was going to do. No. This is what people said it could do, it could lead to. And I've already admitted years ago, you're right on that one. I was foolish to trust them. Now the question is, can we unite instead of demonizing each other? This is an opportunity to bring people from the Libertarians, the Republicans, and the Democrats, people who think differently, and say, what do we meet at? What do we have in common? And here it is, the Constitution and civil rights.